This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
All right, glad to have you along for another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor, the only place to get your weekly fix on anything and everything related to Georgia agriculture. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Case in point, if you'd like to support Georgia wildlife, we'll show you how to do that. Also on the show, who's working for you, the farmer in Washington, D.C. Mark Wildman will sit down with Bob Redding of the Redding Firm, who says now more than ever it's important to have face-to-face contact with lawmakers. Plus, now in its third year of existence, see how the Georgia Grown program continues to get bigger and bigger and is showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
And then later, the amazing research being done by both Georgia Tech and UGA that will eventually make life for poultry farmers a whole lot easier. All this and more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
We know that many of you connected to the ag community are also engaged with decisions surrounding wildlife and wildlife habitat in Georgia. Today, the Monitor takes a look at how you can help make a big impact in conserving native animals across the state. In 2014, Georgia lawmakers passed legislation that benefits the State Department of Natural Resources. After getting the governor's signature, it became law last July. Wildlife biologist Reggie Thaxton told me the new law lowered the cost associated with buying or renewing a wildlife plate that goes on your vehicle. Only $25 more than a standard plate, and dedicates more than 75% of the fees to the DNR Wildlife Resources Division.
This kind of effort is very expensive, and funding is key. The funding that we use for the Bob White Initiative comes solely from the Bob White Quail Initiative license plate, which has the deer and the turkey and the quail on it. And we use that money plus whatever we can garner by using those funds to match federal funding and other grants. We use those funds collectively to, first and foremost, hire quail biologists that work free of charge with landowners to develop technical guidance plans for integrating quail management into their landscape. We also have in the past paid some incentives, and we're looking at doing that again on habitat work for quail.
Part of Thaxton's responsibilities include managing wildlife and the agency's nearly 1 million acres of wildlife management areas. And that's why he takes the funding aspect so seriously, especially how the quail, deer, and turkey car tags play an important role in the current Bob Quail initiative in the state.
Bob Whites are a special bird to Georgia. They're our state game bird, designated by the legislature as such in 1970. And Georgia has a rich heritage of Bob White hunting, and people just like to hear them out on the land, whistling Bob Whiting in the spring. And so they are a special bird, but they need help. They've declined by around 90% since the 1960s. And that's just primarily been due to the changes in landscape and land use that have occurred over the last really 100 years, but particularly in the last 50, with more intensive management of farm and forest land, increased urban and suburban development. But the good news is we know how to integrate Bob White management into these landscapes to restore those populations without giving away the farm, so to speak.
Jim Osier works with the division's non-game conservation section. He's charged with conserving Georgia's non-game wildlife. That covers all native wildlife not legally hunted or fished. Osier has the pleasure of monitoring the bald eagle nests.
I guess one of the most satisfying things to me over the years, what I just mentioned, the bald eagles. I mean, when I first started, that was a bird that was of great concern, and we've put programs in place, and every year I've been able to see those programs being effective, and we get to go out and check on each nest, the ones we know about each year, and seeing the numbers grow each year and seeing how people respond to that as well.
The sales and renewals of the 2 bald eagle designs and hummingbird plate help fund Georgia's Wildlife Conservation Fund. The non-game plates consist of more than half of all contributions to the Wildlife Conservation Fund. Those contributions protect non-game wildlife.
And a species that's receiving a lot of attention lately here is the gopher tortoise, and it's one that's fairly widespread in Georgia, and you see it fairly common in some places, but the facts are that it's disappeared from a lot of areas, and the population is dropping drastically. And the Fish and Wildlife Service, which is the federal wildlife agency, has been petitioned to place this on the endangered species list, and we would like to keep it off the list, not because we don't want to see it protected, but because we think we can protect it very well without it going through all that the regulatory red tape that listing will bring. So we're working hard with other agencies and with landowners to try to implement programs to keep that species off the list.
So what can we do? Upgrade your tags on your vehicles to one of the images that DNR has provided. The license plates are available online through the State Department of Revenue website or at your local county tag office.
All right, Kenny, nice job. Now, meantime, the American Farm Bureau is rolling out a new website. With the ongoing public debate about biotechnology, Farm Bureau's new Get a Move On for GMOs website will be a resource for farmers. According to AFBF biotech specialist Paul Schlegel, farmers will be able to find some quick facts that talk about the importance of GMOs and biotechnology. The most important thing, says Schlegel, farmers now have a platform to tell their stories, express what it means to them, and what they grow and how they grow it.
It's informative for the farmers, but it's also a mechanism for them to have their voices made known, and that's key. We expect it's going to get some action later on this year, and this website will give farmers the ability to weigh into that political process to help that legislation move.
And if you'd like to tell your story, just log on to the web address you see there on your screen. That is getamoveon.fb.org. Well, meantime, the National FFA says it has dropped Louisville as one of the rotation sites for their annual convention and are now in negotiations with Indianapolis to host the event through 2024. The FFA, which is based in Indianapolis, decided in 2009 to rotate its convention between Louisville and Indianapolis every 3 years. However, reports say due to a lack of enough double occupancy hotel rooms within a 40-mile radius of Louisville, officials decided to look at Indianapolis long term. The annual convention held in the fall attracts about 60,000 visitors whose spending on hotels, restaurants, and other things has a $30 million economic impact on the local economy. Well, I think we can all agree that it's important for Georgia ag commodities to stay current on many different issues in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, one of the ways commodity groups stay connected is by partnering with a consultant who represents the groups in Washington. The Monitor's Mark Wildman visited with Bob Redding of the Redding firm, who, yes, is technically based in D.C., but make no mistake about it, he works for you, the farmer.
This historic house in Washington, D.C. is just minutes from the U.S. Capitol, USDA, and every senator and congressman in the country. This house is the office of the Redding firm, and Bob Redding marches in and out of this house many times a day, working for many different commodity groups.
I serve as an advocate on Capitol Hill and various federal agencies for agricultural clients, and I've done this for a number of years after lengthy tenure on Capitol Hill, and enjoy it very much.
Among his clients are Georgia peanuts and pecans, and he stays connected with lawmakers on issues that can affect producers.
Even for agricultural organizations that don't have traditional farm programs, crop insurance is still a major federal initiative, conservation, all types of regulatory issues from food safety to water issues, which are really hotly discussed right now. So there's lots of reasons to be represented in a room with regulators and on Capitol Hill with people trying to help us.
With the advancements in technology, you might not think it is very important to be so close to where the legislation is voted on. But having face-to-face contact is still important to getting your views heard.
A comment from a member of Congress who is no longer with us last year told me that although Washington has a lot of issues right now and challenges, it's still a town that's based on relationships. And by and large, most of the people here come to make a difference and to do good things.
If someone is interested in a career in agriculture, wearing a business suit and living in a big city might not be the first thing that comes to mind, but it is very important work.
I think working on Capitol Hill is a great place to start, a USDA or EPA or even transportation, but places that would have some ag connection, and understanding that side of the process, the political process, the regulatory process, the legislative process. Because although you might take half a dozen political science courses, there's nothing like a year through a farm bill. I mean, you get real educated quick. So I would encourage people to work on the Hill or USDA or places like that.
As the years go by, issues will change, and it will be very important for agriculture to stay connected with lawmakers to make sure that America's food supply stays plentiful and profitable. And Bob Redding, or somebody like him, will be right there to make sure agriculture's voice is heard. In Washington, D.C., I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Mark, thank you, sir. Well, still to come on the Monitor, the amazing technology researchers at Georgia Tech have come up with after they recorded more than 1,000 hours of chickens clucking, and how someday it could revolutionize the poultry industry as we know it.
But first, Damon Jones travels to Perry, Georgia, and shows us why more and more ag businesses are jumping on the Georgia Grown bandwagon. Stay tuned. We're coming right back.
It's the most or the best voice we have in agriculture to promote it right now. Even our station, our politicians, they come to Farm Bureau to ask us questions, even on a local level. First of all, I'm a farmer, and I like promoting farming. I think it's a good lifestyle. I've raised my family farming. I didn't start out farming. Of course, I was raised on a farm. My dad had a little small farm in a neighboring county, grow some produce, tobacco, hogs. It was a little family farm. I went to college, got my degree in agronomy, went to work with Soil Conservation Service, and on eventually as a county agent, and then went into farming. Really, I mean, I just liked it. And I like, well, with Farm Bureau, I like to have the opportunity to promote farming.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia Farm Monitor. You know, with new agribusinesses springing up every day here in the state, 3 years ago, the Georgia Department of Agriculture created a marketing and economic development program called Georgia Grown.
Now, recently, Damon Jones attended their symposium in Perry and tells us some of the things they're very excited about this year.
While it's only been around for a short time, the Georgia Grown program, which was created by the Georgia Department of Agriculture to help expand agribusiness within the state, has already made a significant impact. And recently they held their annual symposium at the Agri Center in Perry, and the attendance was once again on the rise.
We restarted our branding program for Georgia Grown 3 years ago, and now over 600 businesses and farms all across the state are using the brand. Our program is growing. This is an educational outreach of the department to really, help get businesses together, but also go over some of the regulatory side of being in the food business and really the business-to-business contacts today through our expo. We think it's going to be a really successful day.
With that type of diversity and the chance to network with other small business owners, this event provided plenty of opportunity for those in attendance.
The theme of this year's symposium is innovation and diversification. We're hoping people will learn how that they can expand their farming operations, expand their business, move forward with their goals and aspirations to grow their business and open up new markets for them.
However, starting a new business or even expanding on an existing one is never easy, which is why the Georgia Grown program is here to walk you through some of the major challenges producers might encounter.
Those issues run the gambit between regulations, inspection, what they need in terms of license, and how to open those next doors to get to their end goal. And a lot of times they have to adjust those goals. Everybody's not going to immediately day one walk into the Publix and the Kroger with the products and the food they're producing, and we have to teach them how to crawl a little before they actually run.
And once the business is off and running, Georgia Grown not only helps market the product, but also gives it a recognizable brand that consumers can trust.
with agriculture being the largest industry, and we're again, the drive for more locally produced products, whether it's fresh vegetables, or if it's a barbecue sauce or a jam or jelly or a meat rub, we're just businesses springing up everywhere. And so our objective is to take this brand, make it the preeminent state brand all across America.
It creates a unified brand, a brand that's recognizable by the consumers in the metro area, so that they have a belief in the quality and the fact it's local, produced by their neighbors, and adding to the state's economy.
One of the things this program is extremely excited about is the launch of their Georgia-grown trails, which highlights many of the agriculture-related tourism spots in the state along a more than 150-mile stretch.
The number 2 industry behind agriculture in Georgia is tourism. And what better marriage can we have than to create a series of trails, of Georgia-grown trails, so that people visiting this state can understand where the bounty comes from and visit those wonderful places along those trails that produce food and offer tourism attractions.
Reporting from Perry, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Damon, great job, sir. Just a reminder, if you missed any part of this story or others on today's program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel. That is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Once there, you can browse the archive of stories dating as far back as 2009.
And once you're done watching all those informative stories, keep clicking and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page we set up for you. If you have a story idea, or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, feel free to send us a message either on Facebook or the address listed below. That is news@farm-monitor.com. Meantime, the American Farm Bureau has released its Women in Ag survey. All women in agriculture, not just Farm Bureau members, were invited to participate, and nearly 2,000 of them did. Shanika Otterby now with more on what the survey found.
The American Farm Bureau conducted the Women in Ag survey to determine the goals, aspirations, achievements, and needs of women involved in American agriculture today. AFB Women's Leadership Committee Chair Sherry Saylor shares the top priorities revealed in the survey.
Communicating effectively, establishing and achieving goals, and strategic planning are top on the list of leadership skills that women involved in agriculture would like to master. It also showed that we possibly need to take a deeper dive into the specific leadership traits that women in agriculture want to learn about to achieve their goals.
Saylor says the survey also showed women are comfortable advocating about agriculture.
Most of the women believe they have the necessary skills and the knowledge to be successful at advocating, and I thought it was particularly interesting that they felt most comfortable with social media. That's a really wonderful thing, I think, particularly in light of the importance of social media in our world today.
Saylor says this is a great time to be a woman in agriculture. She says Farm Bureau offers amazing resources for women, particularly through its Women's Communications Boot Camp and year-round Our Food Link program.
I'm excited about the opportunities we are providing for our women, and we're going to continue to do that and to try to meet the needs of women in ag so that they can have a very powerful role as we seek to keep our industry healthy and also interact with the consumer on a very positive basis.
Farm Bureau plans to conduct a follow-up survey of women in ag within the next 6 months or so to dive into more detail about beneficial leadership traits for women in agriculture. Shanika Otterby, Washington.
All right, when we come back.
What is it about these chicken sounds? How does it change when the chicken's attitudes change or the chicken's conditions change?
The incredible technology Georgia Tech researchers have developed to help farmers understand exactly what's going on with their chickens. Stay tuned.
It's spring, which is a good thing, but it also means hungry pests are coming out. Plant pests and diseases cause a lot of damage and cost a lot of money.
Hungry pests cost the United States approximately $120 billion a year. That impacts everything from our food to our health, to our environment, to our parks, to our home landscaping.
This year, USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service is recruiting a special ally in the fight against hungry pests by helping to teach middle school students what they can do.
Teachers can download this curriculum for free. It meets the National Common Core standards, and it allows the teachers to use this module to help educate the students about how these pests got here, the damage they cause, and what they can do to help stop the spread of these pests.
For more information, go to hungrypest.com. In Washington for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I'm Bob Ellison.
Well, finally today, for all you poultry farmers, imagine the day when chicken houses will regulate themselves based on the sounds the chickens are making. Sound far-fetched?
Actually, it's not. In fact, thanks to researchers at Georgia Tech, this type of technology is already in the testing phase.
Chicken speech is very different from human speech. In fact, we found right off that extracting certain characteristics of the chicken sounds in the same way that we extracted information about speech didn't yield very useful information. We had to step back and say, okay, what is it about these chicken sounds? How does it change when the chicken's attitudes change or the chicken's conditions change? So if you're a poultry farmer and have been for a long time, you understand as you get near the chickens, you can listen to them and understand if they're doing well, if there's a problem. Just as if you've had the same car for many, many years and the engine starts to sound slightly different, you know there's something wrong. However, we're trying to do this automatically. So we're trying to use the sound of the chickens that we recorded over in Athens to determine a little bit about what's going on with the bird.
Where we just try to look at the bird's response under different conditions. So for example, we might move the temperature levels above acceptable limits for a little bit, record that sound. We might increase the ammonia levels, record that sound, and bring that data back, and then try to extract the features that were significant in those while we were conducting those experiments. To think about a problem, we might be like Dr. Dolittle, who could speak to the animals. And so if you can envision the same thing, the animals will try to tell us a little bit about what's happening with them and how we might try to address it. Research in the past has shown that from some of these vocalizations, you can tell that the birds are under stress or different conditions are negatively affecting them.
At the University of Georgia Poultry Research Center, we want to achieve the ability to provide better growing environments for, in this case, broiler chickens, improve bird well-being, and improve the production performance of flocks just by minimizing any stressor that might impact the birds. Right now, we adjust the environment through automated systems, but the possibility with this research project is that by measuring the sounds that are produced by the birds, either in terms of the sound intensity or the specific calls that they make, we may have a more immediate assessment available to us of just the status of that flock.
We have enormous fans placed at the ends and sometimes in the middle of these chicken houses. And now we're trying to listen to the nuances of something going cheep, 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 in the presence of sound that's so loud that you can't hear a person talking to you. It's an enormous challenge.
We feel that we'll be able to generate something that will be useful. We hope within another year, a couple of years, we'll actually have a device, maybe no bigger than a cell phone or something, that will be now part of a regular control system that's able to provide a little bit more intelligent feedback as to the status of the birds and their conditions in regard to animal welfare, and feed that back into the control mechanism that maintains their environment. We've really enjoyed working with the folks at UGA. And like I said, it's opened the eyes not only to me, but the other researchers that are on the project. Each time we meet, we understand a little bit more about what they do, understand a little bit more about some of the challenges and where our technology might be applicable. And looking towards the future, we think a lot of the problems that we're going to have to be faced, they're going to have to be multidisciplinary. We're going to have to understand those aspects of the problem and figure out how we work together to come to, to generate solutions.
All right, pretty neat stuff. Well, that is going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Well, just a reminder for all the latest ag info that regards food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and the Farm Monitor Show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Hope you have a great week.